Director, I guess this is our first meeting. I hear you're from Georgia, my home state. Regarding the raid on Mar-a-Lago last summer, the Justice Department filed an application for a search and seizure warrant of Mar-a-Lago citing probable cause that additional presidential records and records containing classified information remained in various parts of the residence. The FBI executed this search and raided Mar-a-Lago and has been investigating President Trump for alleged improper handling of classified information and presidential records ever since. Director Wray, are you familiar with the Presidential Records Act?
I mean, only in the most general sense. I'm not a subject matter expert, nor am I currently practicing as a lawyer.
Only in the most general of sense. Okay, the Presidential Records Act, 44 U.S.C. 2201, is the controlling statute for presidential records. And I have a copy of it right here if you'd like to see it. Was the Presidential Records Act referenced in the request for a warrant?
I would just refer you to the warrant.
I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, I don't have the warrant in front of me, so I can't, sitting here right now, tell you exactly which statutes were referenced in the warrant from August.
I mean, this is one of the most historic raids and warrants ever done in this country. Never, ever done before, and you don't know what the warrant says.
I didn't say I didn't know what the warrant says. I don't have the specific details in front of me of exactly which statutory code references are in the warrant.
Okay. Are there any criminal penalties attached to the Presidential Records Act?
Well, again, I think that's a legal question, but my general recollection is not directly, but I'm not certain of that.
You're correct. There are no criminal penalties attached to the Presidential Records Act. Under the Presidential Records Act, the president is allowed to have all his records from his time as president. Is that correct?
Well, again, now you're asking me for a legal opinion about the scope of the Presidential Records Act, and I would refer you to the special counsel conducting the investigation on that.
All right. According to statute, presidential records are defined as any document created or received by the president or his staff, for your information. It does not exclude classified documents either. And that's right from the U.S. Code, right here. So President Trump had complete authority to unilaterally declassify documents, correct?
Again, now you're asking me for a legal question, and you're asking me for a legal question in relation to an ongoing investigation being led by special counsel. So I certainly understand why you're asking the question. I respect that, but it's not something that I can answer.
Okay.
Appropriately.
It's my understanding the president has that authority, the vice president and a senator does not. Is that correct?
Same answer.
All right. According to the Presidential Records Act, personal records are excluded from the Act's preservation requirements. Are you familiar with the 2001 sock drawer case in which a plaintiff petitioned the court to consider whether tapes found located in President Clinton's sock drawer, many containing conversations with foreign leaders and therefore born classified, were to be considered personal records or official records? Are you familiar with that case at all? I mean, you've been in the Department of Justice for a very long time.
I can't recall a case involving a sock drawer. I know there was a case involving the former National Security Advisor who had served in the Clinton administration involving some classified documents, but I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to.
This is dealing with President Clinton himself.
Yeah, at least sitting here right now, I don't immediately recognize it. Maybe if I saw something, it would come back to me.
Okay. Judge Amy Jackson's opinion in that case, citing 44 U.S.C. 2203 Bravo, Judge Jackson ruled that in the court's view, under the statutory scheme established by the Presidential Records Act, the decision to segregate personal materials from presidential records is made by the president during the president's term and in his sole discretion. Considering Judge Jackson's ruling, why do you believe the White House counsel, Jonathan Su, with President Biden's approval, waived President Trump's executive privilege when, according to the Presidential Records Act, only President Trump had the authority to determine presidential versus personal records?
So, respectfully, there's a couple things that go to your question. One is, you're asking for a legal opinion, and I'm very careful as FBI director to stay in my lane, and the legal questions should be referred to the Justice Department. But second, it sounds like in this particular instance, you're asking me about what somebody else was thinking when they did or didn't waive the privilege, and I can't speak for them.
All right. What did it cost for the FBI to pursue this case and execute this raid?
I don't have a cost figure for you.
Can you provide that for me?
I can see if there's information we can provide you. I'll certainly
Okay.
have my staff follow up with you.
I would
don't know if
appreciate
there's
that.
information we can provide, but I'll look into it.
All right. Thank you, and I yield back.
Mr. Ellsey?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, in your written statement here, you say that NICS, which is under the direction of the FBI, National, your 2024 request includes an additional 27 positions and $8.4 million. Now, a NICS check is valid for 30 days, right?
You mean in terms of the
background check?
well, we have to turn them around more quickly than that.
Correct.
Right,
Once
right.
you turn it around, it's good for 30 days.
Yeah, I think that's right, but I can't remember the exact
Okay,
number.
it is. And you're asking for 27 additional positions, I assume because you see the need for NICS checks going up?
The answer, yes, is the short answer.
Okay.
And the reason for that, in large part, is because we've seen the number of, the volume of background checks coming in from FFLs going up. And then on top of that, the bipartisan community, the BSCA that was passed
Right.
increases the number of checks that we have to do. And
I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't it make more sense to have a background check be valid for longer than 30 days? If you had it longer than 30 days, wouldn't that require fewer background checks, and therefore you wouldn't have to expand the NICS section? I mean, 30 days is a pretty short period of time.
I think it's something I would certainly happen to take a look at the impact that that would have.
Okay, I mean, if you look at a concealed carry permit, it's good for 5 years. And the concealed carry permit negates the need for a background check. I just look at the disparity of 30 days and 5 years and go, there's got to be some middle ground here where we can help you out with NICS and not spend more money that we don't have. Just a thought for you.
Well, it's an idea I'll certainly take on and take a look at, and we'll follow back up with you.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for you regarding the 2017 Las Vegas shooting. Did the FBI find any legally possessed or illegally possessed NFA-restricted firearms in the rooms occupied by Mr. Paddock during the time frame of the tragic Las Vegas shooting? I mean, you were the director at the time.
Oh, yeah, and I went out, in fact, I went to the crime scene, met with the people on the crime scene, who are working hard,
Right.
Exploiting the scene, and I went up into the hotel room that he was in and met with the team up there to see kind of the angles that he was shooting from and that kind of thing. As to the legality of the different weapons and ammunition that he had, as I sit here right now, I don't remember the answer, but we can certainly follow back up with you.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
because everything I've seen, including the Las Vegas police report, showed no National Firearms Act weapons listed whatsoever. But yet in the FBI report, it says Stephen Paddock illegally possessed prohibited firearms in violation of 27 U.S.C. Section 5841, and he used the prohibited firearms in the mass shooting incident. So I'm just kind of questioning the disparity there, not seeing them on any inventory, and yet seeing the FBI actually, the FBI report itself stating that they were there and they were used.
Yeah, I seem to vaguely recall, but this is now dating me back a ways. I seem to vaguely recall that there was some purchase that ran afoul of one of the various criminal provisions that apply to firearms in this country, because I remember something related to one of the FFLs, but I'd have to go back and figure out what it is they're referring to in the report.
Okay, would you mind following up with,
Sure.
With us on
Sure.
that? Okay, great. And I guess that's all the questions I've got for you. I yield back.